So Sheryl Swoopes is at it again with her Caitlin Clark hate. And at this point, the more I watch her not say anything or give Caitlin Clark any credit whatsoever, it's absolutely hilarious to me. She's reminding me of how Skip Bayless treats LeBron James with his constant hate. He can never give him credit when he does something good on the basketball court. And at this point, it's just getting out of control and a bit ridiculous. Now, in case you missed it, the game between the Dallas Wings and Las Vegas Aces, there was a moment in the game where they were talking about the players of the week. And there was a straight silence from Sheryl Swoopes for really about almost a minute long. It was actually like 50 seconds. She didn't say anything about the award. She didn't give credit to Collier. She didn't give credit to Caitlin Clark. And if you're trying to get us to care about the WNBA, your job as a commentator is to promote the game, whether you like the player or don't like the player. You can't have your biases involved. Now, if she was on her podcast, not saying anything about player of the week, cool. That's no problem. But you're on national television commentating on a basketball game, and your partner is talking about this specific topic, and you're not saying anything at all. That comes across as hate and jealousy, in my opinion, because Caitlin Clark is shining out here, performing, leading the Fever to 15 wins, and you don't want to say anything. You don't want to give credit to Collier either. I want to bring that up as well because Collier is an MVP candidate. She's playing really well for the Lynx, and you don't give them any love at all. You just quiet the whole time. And then the next thing she says is a play made, I believe it was from the Aces on the other end, and that was it. You just completely dismissed what the commentator had to say. Now I just want to play a small clip so you can see what I'm talking about.
Got to go to the players of the week. Both of them had outstanding weeks, and they're the next two opponents of the week. Caitlin Clark will be here on Sunday. For the week, averaged 25, and Apisa Collier averaged over 25. And of course, the Lynx here Friday at 6:30 on Ion.
Notice that Swoopes isn't saying anything. Nothing about, oh, great job by both ladies. Nothing.
And then the Fever come here at 3 o'clock before a sellout crowd. Tough stretch for Dallas. Coming into the second half of the season, they had the hardest remaining schedule.
Still quiet. You don't want to say nothing about it. Yikes. That's just not a good look. You're on national television. Perfect opportunity to keep saying nice things about the league and how we have great talent. That's all you have to say. You don't need to just go on a long soliloquy about, oh yeah, Caitlin Clark and B are doing great. Yeah, you don't have to do all that. Keep it simple. But to say nothing at all, yeah, this is just crazy to me.
Love. Enrique pulls it away. 4 rebounds for Enrique. Shot to runs the floor.
Ooh, that was pretty.
So Swoopes finally says something after Enrique made a brilliant pass to Satu on the other end. Now, to correct what I said earlier, it wasn't the Aces who made that play, it was the Dallas Wings. But again, this is crazy to me because you have two phenomenal players. You don't want to say anything nice about them. And I know, like, she might have said something if Caitlin Clark wasn't player of the week. I don't know. But I'm going to assume so because if that was Angel Reese and Fee up there, she would have probably talked about it for 5 minutes and just gone on and on about the two players. But because Caitlin Clark is player of the week, you don't want to say anything. And just looking at the responses from people on Twitter, this guy says, you guys need to get over this. Everyone doesn't have to like, support, or even acknowledge her. And that's perfectly fine. Here's what you're missing with that point. She's on television. Her job as a commentator is to respond to her partner's statements as well, not just completely dismiss them. You can do that on your podcast, but when you're on TV, that's completely unprofessional. Like the following tweet here, on their personal time, yes, bring your bias to an official WNBA broadcast, incredibly unprofessional. And that's the crux of this whole situation. If she's on her podcast, I don't care. Do what you want. Say how you feel. Say nothing at all. But when you're on a televised network where you're trying to promote your game, this is the wrong way of doing it. Because I guarantee you, if that was Angel Reese, if that was Sabrina Ionescu, if that was Asia Wilson, who won Play of the Week next to Fee, she would have not stopped talking about the two players. But because Caitlin Clark is next to Fee, she's got nothing to say. This reminds me of the situation with Skip Bayless and Kawhi Leonard when Kawhi left the Spurs, and he never said his name until he went to the Clippers. He kept calling him number 2 constantly on the air. Even though he won the championship, won Finals MVP, and it was the best player for the Toronto Raptors, Skip Bayless was quiet. He never wanted to say his name or give him proper credit because he played for the Spurs, which is Skip's favorite team. He didn't like the way he left the Spurs, and that was just stupid to me. It was ridiculous, and it didn't make sense. Now, I do want to be very clear about something. This does not mean Sheryl Swoopes was not one of the best players in the WNBA during her career. But you can be a really good player and not a good analyst at the same time. We have seen this in the past with Paul Pierce and his take on Dwayne Wade, how he said he would have been a better player than Dwayne Wade if he had Shaq, if he had LeBron, if he had Chris Bosh on his team. So you can know the game, but when it comes to breaking down the game, those are two different things. And when it comes to the situation with Sheryl Swoopes, sure, she's a 3-time MVP. She's won 4 championships. All that's amazing stuff. She has accomplished a lot in her career. But when it comes to breaking down the game of basketball, this right here is crazy and utter nonsense. She's going full Paul Pierce and full Skip Bayless with Caitlin Clark. And it's funny because if she continues this trend, people are just going to troll her. They're going to just continue to criticize her because you don't want to give proper credit. And you're just going to be another Skip Bayless in the WNBA. And if you want to be remembered that way, go for it. But you're going to get constantly clowned and laughed at because it looks ridiculous. And this all started with the podcast with Gilbert Arenas, where she claimed that Caitlin Clark was 25 years old when she broke the record, that she spent 5 years in college, and that she was attempting 40 shots a game. And really, she was only attempting 19 shots. She straight up lied on the podcast. None of that was true whatsoever. She only played 4 years in college. She wasn't 25 years old. And if Sheryl Swoopes just quickly researched Caitlin Clark's career, maybe she wouldn't have said that. Who knows? Again, the WNBA needs to be promoted. They need to turn the tide and start making money in this league. But if you have somebody like this who's on national television, let's just say she's on ESPN, and she completely dismisses Caitlin Clark, and it's out of hand, and you can tell she's hating, and there's jealousy going on. How does that make the network look? How does that make the WNBA look? You see, when you let your biases take over, you look dumb, and you don't look like a professional analyst. Again, I don't care if you don't want to say anything on your podcast. That's fine. But you are on national television, and you got to be professional, regardless of how you feel about that player. Because this also impacts players like Fee Collier, because you said nothing about her either. She's been playing at a high level, pushing to be an MVP, and to dismiss her accomplishments looks bad as well. Sheryl Swoopes knows the game. There's no doubt about that. But when it comes to scouting talent and analyzing things properly, that's where she falls short. And if you want to be another Paul Pierce and Skip Bayless, have fun with that. Hope you guys enjoyed this video today. I'd love to hear thoughts on the silence from Sheryl Swoopes about Caitlin Clark getting Player of the Week and Fee Collier as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.